45 years, 0 name changes, new offices, more staff, improved technology to better serve you. Education, services, investments. Think real estate, think Marshall Reddick. Brokerage, property management, private lending, creating financial independence through real estate since 1979.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, how's everybody doing? Before we get started, I just always like to do a quick housekeeping, just make sure everybody can hear us loud and clear. So those of you that are either in front of a computer or can type into the chat box that you can hear us, that would be awesome. That way I know that everybody is good to go. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So let's see, I am getting some folks typing, so appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for for joining us this evening on our new construction duplex opportunities in Southwest Florida. So this is a really exciting presentation. I'm sure most of you are aware, the interest rates have been a tough battle for us recently. So, one of the big things that we have been doing as a company is trying to figure out creative ways to encourage buyers and to get more folks out there. And one of the things that we've done is partnered with builders and our preferred lender at CMG Financial. And we've been able to secure way below market rates by an event called a forward commitment, which is where the builder and the lender, the builders essentially make a connection, and the builder is buying the rate down much further than any individual investor typically would. And this really helps improve the numbers, it helps improve the cash flow, and it allows a lot more deals to make sense when they wouldn't maybe at the par interest rates where they currently are today. So we have a few examples to show you tonight. We're also gonna, I'm gonna be introducing one of our top agents in Southwest Florida, Koo. She's gonna talk a little bit more about the market and kind of why Southwest Florida. But before we turn it over to her and go over some of the properties, I just want to kind of quickly go through a few slides here to tell you a little bit more about Marshall Reddick and myself and who we are and how we can help you guys. So my name is Vince Tomich. I'm an advisor here at Marshall Reddick. I've been with the company now for just over 5 years, I guess, actually coming up on 6 now that I say that. I am a realtor and advisor here in the Orange County office. I help a lot of our investors who are seeking investment property, whether it's in Texas, Tennessee, or Florida, and I help go through the start to finish of that process. So from the pre-approval to identifying the market to looking at properties, connecting with the agent, etc. So I help from A to Z there. I'm a big fan of practicing what I preach. So as an employee of Marshall Reddick, I'm also an investor. So I invest in property. I have Marshall Reddick manage that property. I have borrowed money with Marshall Reddick. I have lent money with Marshall Reddick. My background prior to the role I'm in now is I was in residential lending for a number of years, and that's where I really learned the value of leveraging money, and it's really pushed me and given me the confidence to take on some investing myself. And I think it's really fun to be able to share that with investors like you who are looking to do this for the first time or maybe the 100th time. So it's a really great ability or opportunity, I should say, to leverage all the resources Marshall Reddick has to offer and share that with you guys. Those of you that are fairly new to Marshall Reddick or unfamiliar with our services, I always like to just take a minute or two and kind of go over who we are and what we do. So I always like to consider Marshall Reddick as a full service real estate firm. And we basically have 4 different sectors that we focus on. So our real estate brokerage, we help people buy and sell, whether it's a primary residence or an investment property. We have our property management services. So those of you that are looking to purchase investment property, you would need ongoing management, and we can support you in that role. Everything from marketing the property, rent collection, rent disbursement, inspections, turnovers, anything that would be needed on the property, we can handle on your behalf. Next, we're a private money lender. So we service borrowers who may be in need of loans for fix and flips. Maybe you have a self-directed retirement account and you want to buy property in that entity. You would be a good example of a borrower. Or maybe you have more than 10 financed loans and you can't get another conventional loan. So that might be a good reason that you would borrow money from us. And then we have our investment fund. So on the flip side, the people that borrow, we have the opportunity to lend money, and you can lend money in a direct capacity, meaning one borrower, one lender, or we have our investment fund, which is pooled capital. And that fund then becomes the lender to these various loans across the country. So those are all of our services. I am someone that can help with this, conversation starting in any one of those. And eventually, I'd bring in other team members and other folks to help assist depending on which direction we go. So that's a little bit more of an, overarching kind of explanation of who Marshall Reddick is and what we do and maybe what services we can help you with. Here's just a quick map of all of our markets that we operate in. And these are going to all be markets that we have a physical footprint. So boots on the ground, agents, property management, we can service this market in its entirety. So you'll see here we're in California, Texas, Tennessee, Florida. Happy to go into any more detail or answer questions for those of you that may be looking in markets that are very close to. But yeah, that's just a nice overview for the folks that are curious where we operate. Now, how did we pick those markets? What makes a good investment market? Here's some key criteria that we like to focus on. We feel like these individual criteria do provide a good environment for an investment, good investment opportunities. So of course, job markets are really important. Low vacancy rate, economic diversity, right? We don't want to depend on one employer within an area. Affordability is important, right? For those of you like myself who are here in Southern California, we run into this quite often with the price points of where we are, right? It's not cheap, so it's hard to make some of these investments work. So seeking investments maybe outside of our home market makes sense. Of course, another key component is landlord friendly, right? So those of you that are looking to invest, it is nice to know that there are markets and states that do support landlords and allow you to function more properly and not be at such a disadvantage as there are other markets that don't offer that. Strong education, and then last but not least, reliable property management, which is something I briefly touched on. I'll go over that in a little bit more detail later, but those are all important factors that we believe in and we feel like make a good market. Here's a quick photo of some of our teams across the country. We have, like I said, our Texas office, our Newport office, our Tennessee office, our Florida office. So here's all the folks that actually make this happen, right? So there's going to be agents and property managers and the private lending team. There's all kinds of staff here, and it's more than just Ku and I behind here, right? There's a lot of folks that make this happen. So we always like to just give a shout out to those folks that are on the team. Cool. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Ku. Ku's been an awesome resource for myself and for many other clients who are looking in Southwest Florida. So Ku's going to do a quick intro on herself and talk a little bit about the market, and then we'll dive into some properties towards the end here, and we'll field as many questions as we can. And just for those of you to know, in case there's questions that don't get answered, Ku and I will be doing some follow-up. So rest assured, we'll make sure to get everything answered if anything's unanswered this evening. Ku, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Vance. And welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm glad to be here and share some great news with you about Southwest Florida. Well, I have expertise in Southwest Florida. I've been coming down here for the last 30 years. all from Tampa to Miami. And then when COVID hit, I just decided that I want to come and live here permanently. So I moved down here and settled here in Fort Myers, the hub of Southwest Florida. I specialize in the investment side and also residential sales. And then I have a diverse background from HVAC, finance to fashion. My former job, I was an executive for a luxury cosmetic brand where I acquired a lot of value negotiation skills. And then, I have one son, and he's all grown up, and he's stationed in South Korea. So I am an empty nester, and my current two loves are four-legged babies, Bruce Lee and Gigi. So with that, I want to move on to telling you all about Southwest Florida. Hey, Vince.
Yeah, let me help you right here on the bottom. You should be able to click next.
I can't get next here. There you go. Thank you.
And then we'll go back just because we went too many.
There you go. So why Southwest Florida is so popular? Our unemployment rate is 3.4. We're in the third bestest area for job growth in the nation. We have, huge sectors of businesses, especially in medical and construction, teaching, tourism, and hospitality. The median income here is about $70,500, and we have beautiful, beautiful beaches, miles of it, and canals. So if you love the sun, sand, and beach, we're the destination. We also have, 109 public, private, and charter schools. We have about 11, colleges here, right here in Southwest Florida. And then why do we recommend new construction? Well, it's quite simple. It will allow you to be more of a carefree landlord, low maintenance costs, no surprises on renovations or future repairs. You get a higher resale value, increased rental rate, and also, tenant retention. They normally like to stay in a new construction and remain there since they're, first in that unit or townhome.
Yeah. And Ku, another, good, you brought up a good point. And, when we're talking about new construction, you do have to think from the tenant standpoint too. Everybody likes new and nicer, and, it's a bit easier oftentimes to rent out something that is, newer and nicer, and to get that marketed and get folks in those units. But in addition to that, typically builders are the folks right now that have the most inventory. They have typically the most pain point there. They have high carrying costs with, construction loans. So they are typically going to be the most eager to negotiate, to offer incentives, to make it more attractive to buyers versus maybe a pre-owned seller who has, one investment property, and there's no mortgage on it, and they own it, free and clear. There may be a little bit less motivation there. So we're noticing that it's a kind of a double positive to be able to target something that's newer, nicer, going to have less maintenance, less vacancy, and also potentially a better deal.
Yes, and that's very true, better deal, because builders, they build, and if they don't sell the house or the property, they can't get money to build the new house. So that's why we target new construction as well. And then, of course, you get increased resale value and a higher appreciation at that. So this year, I'm going to jump into showing you Southwest Florida's map here. So you'll see that on the top left-hand corner, highlighted yellow, is Cape Coral, and then you got City of Fort Myers, and then to the right of that is Lehigh Acres, and then Fort Myers. And when we call Lee County incorporates, City of Bonita Springs, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Sanibel, and Fort Myers Beach, as well as Estero. So it's a huge, huge area. If you see that green line, the reason I note that on there is that road there is Pine Island Road. It's one of the main hub road, very busy road going into Cape Coral. And, you know, it changes to Bay Shore, and then it's also the State Road 78. And I wanted to show you that as we get into the next slide. I'll tell you why. So if you'll see Pine Island Road there, in Cape Coral, there's all along that road is all businesses. It's commercial. It's got dealerships, stores, retail, you know, entertainment, big, you know, Targets, Walmart. So it is really growing, and Cape Coral is really focusing on, you know, developing that whole area around Pine Island Road, as well as probably future they're going to expand that road, because right now they because of the growth, the traffic is just getting, you know, too hard for people there. So it's difficult with the traffic jam there. So, and then a few things. I want to let you know the exciting coming to Cape Coral. And there are actually several major things, but I want to focus on these 4 items here because they're major here in Cape Coral, which will bring value as an investors to you. So in, you know, right now in Cape Coral, there's the Golf Gate Resort at 7 Island. That's going to be, it's under construction already. And that's huge. Again, it's a mixed use. It's going to feature luxury condos, some 3- and 4-story fish houses, hotel meeting spaces, 37,000 square feet of commercial space with, you know, amphitheater, marina, waterfront amenities, and it's it will become the premier destination for both resident and visitors here. And then, of course, the Cape Coral Grove. It's going to transform 131 acres into a vibrant town center with luxury apartments, shopping, dining, entertainment, and public parks, as well as music venues, bowling alleys, movie theater in there. And this is really meant to enhance urban living in Cape Coral and bring in a younger resident as well. And then Cove at 47th, that is right downtown Cape Coral, and that is also a mixed-use development right now, and it's feature high-end residential units, 19,000 square feet of commercial spaces, and rooftop sky lounges. So it you know, Cape Coral is growing leaps and bounds. And the most recent that they just recently closed on in back in December here is Hudson Creek, Cape Coral. It's a 1,700 acre stretch of raw land sold. It's a record price for $100 million, and it's going to be massive. The development that's going to go on there, they have entitlement to build. Let me see. There's so many that I have to read my notes here. About 3,500 homes, 500,000 square foot of commercial spaces, 500 hotel rooms, 150 square feet of office spaces, and 425 square feet of retail spaces, and an 800-bed assisted living facility, as well as 3,000 student university there. So that is going to be huge, and that will be done in several stages. It'll take 10 years to develop that, Hudson. And in Cape Coral, because it is growing by leaps and bounds, they have started an initiative to put all the residents into city water and sewer. And it's divided into 4 quadrants: southeast, northeast, southwest, and southeast. So we are starting the phases now, and the last quadrant is anticipated to finish in 2030. And it's going to cost about $34,000. Right now, some of them is about $40,000. So, but you're not going to get to pay that all at once. It will be tacked onto your tax bill, which will be for affordability. So that will get everybody on city water. And
so, and one thing that's interesting about this, for those of you that are unfamiliar, like I remember when I was just starting and I heard of well and septic, it wasn't a concept to me that was common, just because, city utilities are just the standard operating procedure, here and in a lot of other places. So it was nice to know that, understanding this a little bit more, and how when those assessments are paid, and if your property kind of goes through this, some people are thinking, oh, like, well, I have to pay that. But it's a dollar for dollar increase in your value, right? To have that assessment either paid or, partially paid, or whatever the scenario is, to have that done, it directly impacts your value. So it's not a function of like, maybe I can sell it for the same amount and not have this done. So just know that it's definitely dollars well spent, and it does, especially for an investment, it makes the maintenance a bit more streamlined.
Yes, it is, because if you're on a septic and your sewer, you got the drain lines to worry about. You got, to worry about the pumping. The people that you're renting to, you got to make sure that they, don't throw things down, the toilet or the plumbing, all of that. That affects the function of septic. So that is why, with the growth of Cape Coral, the city was, spending some money to improve the utilities there. And then we want to move on to Fort Myers. And in Fort Myers, Amazon is coming here, and they're already here. Right now, they have a distribution center here already. That's huge, already right on Alico there. Amazon just closed on this deal as well, and it's starting to, will break ground here soon. It'll be bringing about 1,000 jobs here. So again, it'll bring more renters here, more residents here. As an investor, you look at that, you'll be having more higher employments here, and then, the renters, the increase of renters as well.
Yeah, it's always nice to see those big anchor tenants like Amazon's move in. I mean, I know that a lot of folks, the companies of that size and the jobs that those draw, and the likelihood of those folks, a lot of them being renters and being able to supply that's kind of what our model is and what our goal is here. Right.
And, a lot of these will bring younger family too, and they have kids and children. A lot of them don't want to be in an apartment, so there you go. They would probably prefer to be on duplexes, have a little yard for the kids to play, or a single family home. And just talk about a little bit the Alico corridor here. If you look at that, Alico and 75 there meet onto your upper left there. And where it says site in the orange highlight there, that's a legal corner, and that is huge developing right now. It's got several business going up, and they're not done yet. As you can see, all the big names are there in the Gulf Coast Center, the Costco, Target, all the big retailers are right there in that Gulf Coast shopping center. And then we got Home Depot, and then to the left of Home Depot, that's where the Amazon distribution center is there. So it's a huge building that didn't show up on the map, but on here it's undergone construction. And if you'll notice on this illegal corridor project, it's 1 out of every 3 jobs in Lee County, and 1 out of 4 in Southwest Florida will be in this illegal corner as far as employment goes. So we're gonna see a huge growth here in Fort Myers. And this here central hub too is not too far from Cape Coral, it's not too far from Lehigh Acres, Naples, Punta Gorda, and North Fort Myers. And these are just all the businesses that's already there. You get some big names here. You got Pepsi facility. You got Neogenomics there. That's a cancer facility. Do researches. Scotland. That's logistic. And we got hotels. So there's a lot happening in this corner that will bring a lot more employment and, of course, residents this year. In Southwest Florida economy, where healthcare and social service, retail, construction, accommodations, and food. And the talents here, the biggest is, we are in sales and executive managers and administrators. We got 13% in that. Office administrative support, about 12%. Construction and extraction, about 7%. And food preparation is about 6%. So we're not all just about hospital, accommodations and hospitality, because it's highly tourism. It has changed. The face of Southwest Florida has changed, and we are attracting residents and permanent, younger family that want to come here and build a life here, which is also great for investors as well.
Yeah, I think the common theme is, Florida is just for sunbathing and vacations, but it's good to see that there's a lot more going on here. I know Florida also is a state, is favorable for taxes, and it's overall becoming a popular place for a lot of folks. Lots of growth happening there. So yeah, it's good to kind of understand what everybody's doing for work. As a potential investor, that's a key component. So thanks for kind of outlining some of these metrics for us.
Okay. The job market. So, our job growth rate in Southwest Florida from 2019 to 2024, we increased by 12% from the low 500s to the high 500s, and we outpaced the national growth of 6%. The GDP for Southwest Florida in 2024 exceeds the national average with historical GMP growth rate of 3.4. And since 2021, our average GDP is 6.7%. We outperformed Florida's 6.2 and the US average of 3.4. Again, our unemployment rate is 3.4%, which makes it great for a job market down here. In Cape Coral and Fort Myers, we are the hub, as you've seen in the map. We're right centrally located, going to Naples, going to Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, Lehigh Acres, Fort Myers. We are the central. So Cape Coral and Fort Myers Metropolitan, we had 234, 132 in 2024, which is an increase of 19.8% since 2020. Our current growth rate at Cape Coral is 4.3% and Fort Myers 3.45. The Cape Coral, Fort Myers metropolitan area is, we're one of the nation's job growth leaders. As you can see, why we are with all this new development and, big companies coming in like Amazon. Cape Coral is 120 square miles, making it one of the largest city in Florida by terms of land. So that's why there's a lot of building out in Cape Coral.
And you brought up Naples a few times, and I know that folks may have heard of that. I know it's one of the wealthiest cities in the U.S., so it's quite a draw for a lot of folks with high income. And how far roughly is Naples to Fort Myers and Cape Coral?
Fort Myers, it's about 30 minutes to Naples, and from Cape Coral, probably 40, 45 minutes, depending on the traffic. It's faster during the summertime, of course, when we get all the snowbirds and vacationers here. Traffic has become so bad here, but it's all good. If you're an investor, you want that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you do. And as you mentioned, Naples is ranked #1 by U.S. News as the #1 place to live. So that's our neighbor right there. So, some of the reasons why, people want to move here is that we rank as, some of the best cities to live here in the U.S. And, we have great weather. The economy is good. We got low tax, great entertainment. It just makes us an ideal place to live. And we're centrally between large metro areas like Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and it's great. Again, Southwest Florida, you can travel an hour and a half and you get to Miami. You travel an hour and a half and you get to Tampa, and it's all beautiful driving. So that makes it very desirable. You don't have the hustle and bustle of the traffic and the people, and you can live in this beautiful paradise. And if you want to go and, have a little fun or do something with, a more busier city, you drive an hour and a half to go spend a long weekend in Miami or in Tampa. No personal income tax. And then we're really corporate franchise tax friendly and capital stack here. and no state level property tax, which means that our property tax here is lower. No property tax on business inventories, no sales tax on manufacturing machinery and equipment, which all these are just pluses for, moving here to Southwest Florida. So inside look of Southwest Florida here for, real estate. The average household here is 3. The median age is about almost 49 years. Average rental increases 3.7. That's that's pretty good rate. Most popular bed and bath mix is 3-2 for single family multi-units. Although for single family homes now it's gravitating towards the 4-2 bedroom mix. And then most requested upgrades down here, by being a property manager down here too, and talking to renters and buyers and investors, the most requests we get for upgrades is a garage, fence, and pool, and pet friendly.
And Ku, one thing that we were talking about is single families and duplexes. I've noticed that's like pretty much the common theme in terms of the investments that we are typically targeting. Do you typically ever see anything larger in terms of like multifamily, like 3 and 4 units or even a little bit greater? Is that something that's as common, or do you feel like the more single family to like the duplex model is more of the norm in the markets that we've discussing tonight?
I think that, with the growth that we're having, I think we will probably have more, triplex, fourplexes. Right now, we typically have the duplexes and single family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think that's a good mix to where you're actually being able to attract, like you said, maybe a higher quality tenant, folks that are going to stay a little bit longer. When you have that larger unit mix, that through those 3-2s and those 4-2s, those are people that can stay for a number of years. As you get into larger units, right, and the bedroom bathroom count goes down, you tend to have a little bit more turnover, I've noticed. So
Right.
Ideally for our long-term buy and hold investors, that mix that we have, or those properties we're focusing on, kind of foster those longer tenants.
Right. Well, I mean, you're talking typically the average household is 3 years. So, 3 bedroom, 2 bath is really, preferred here. And, a lot of the duplexes used to have like 2-2 or 2-1. And now many of the duplexes that are built now are mostly 3-2 and an attached garage. So,
nice.
And because, our job, environment has changed through COVID, that a lot of people work from home now. So they are, gravitating towards that 4-2 mix, because one room is turned into an office or a 3+ den, and that den is turned into an office. So they work from home. So I want to just move and talk about some models here in Lee County and Port Charlotte. I mean, there's a long list here on, the structures and interior upgrade, but basically I just want to highlight, I mean, the construction down here, the property down here, they're built for the environment down here, for the weather here. So they generally all have sliding impact doors, windows, concrete blocks, 30-year dimensional shingles, builder structure warranty, concrete, reinforced concrete pavers. I mean, these are just all things that are, built for Florida weather, so that residents here can be safe in the home without worrying. So this all adds to the value of the property.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up too, because it's no secret, right? Florida has hurricanes. I know that's like a common concern and common point that folks point out. So, the advantage of targeting new construction is taking advantage of the most up-to-date and probably most comprehensive building code, right? And making sure that things are built very sound, right? I know there's constant concerns of, and there should be concerns as old, buildings that were built 30, 30, 25 years ago, right, that they don't have quite the same code that was built. So for that reason, you do run a bit more of a risk when it comes to the traditional Florida weather. So these new construction homes obviously are meant to withstand what we've been facing, and have fared very well over the recent years, right? We of course do management in these markets, and it's, we're happy to say that the damages that we have faced over the last 4 to 5 years have been minimal in comparison to maybe what one may think or one may see on the news.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so, just want to move a little bit here and focus on a property that we're featuring, 180 Madrid. This one is located in Punta Gorda in the Charlotte County. What makes this property, very appealing and attractive is that it is located in a very nice neighborhood. It's mixed with, single family homes that, it's not just in all rental. So it's actually it's not in a gated community, but it's in some sort of, neighborhood community. It's mixed with single family, high-end homes. So, it's very safe as well. And it's also close to a lot of attractions. You're not familiar with Fisherman's Village, but this property here is within 2 miles from Fisherman's Village, which is a village where you just drive down there and there's just beautiful beaches down there. And it's very beautifully, constructed, this duplex. It's one of the best that I've seen. The rooms are nicely laid out, quality, the workmanship in this duplex is just, high quality. And the rooms are not small. And the way that they have, the construction done with the grass and landscape in the middle and separating the garage so there's a little privacy there. I mean, it just makes it perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vince. I was gonna have to, do the numbers because it's
I was going to be able to go over a little bit of the numbers here for you folks and kind of break this down. We'll take a little time on our first one to kind of go through this line by line. So this is like our PDF version that you can find on our website. So on our website, it's a little bit more interactive. You can adjust numbers and it's a bit longer, but this is kind of the condensed PDF version just for the presentation purposes. One thing I do want to point out that's really something to note here is this particular duplex is built from a builder we have a very close relationship with, and this one is tenant occupied. So this is actually both units are rented on this, Koo?
Yes, both units are rented, and that is the real amount there, 4,100.
So that's fantastic to know. So basically, what I spoke about earlier is, one thing that we're noticing is builders are offering major incentives. One of those most impactful incentives is adjusting the interest rate, buying down the points, or paying points to buy down the rate rather. And typically there's a limitation on what a builder or what a seller can contribute to a transaction. So on an investment purchase, it's typically 2%, or I shouldn't say it's typically, it is, if a conventional loan, it's 2% of the list price. Well, to buy the rate down to 5.25 is significantly more than 2% of the list price. So again, how do we figure out how to accomplish that? And that's what I mentioned earlier. It's through a technique or basically an agreement called a forward commitment, in which the builder and the lender have agreed to buy the rate down before the transaction even starts. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. That's how we're getting these rates to where they are. So you'll see a rate on this particular scenario of 5.25. Not all of the rates are at 5.25. Some can be higher, some can be even a little lower. It's really dependent on what that specific builder is offering. So we know that in this case, we're comfortable getting to this rate. And what I'll do is I'll start for you guys at the top. So we start with our list price here at $643,999. And what we do is we estimate a 30% down payment. That's a component of being able to to acquire this rate. That is important. Now, technically, the minimum down payment for a 2 to 4 unit is actually only 25%. So those of you that are looking to come out with less money, it is possible. Of course, it impacts a lot. Things will change, the rates, the cash flows, etc. Things will adjust, but it can be done. Just for those of you that are looking at this initial repair cost, we kind of have a nominal amount in there for various things. Because since this one is actually already tenant occupied, there's really nothing that the owner would have to put in, being that both units are rented and we're collecting rent, correct?
Right, right. So there would initially be nothing, and it's a new, construction. It's just built in 2024. So all it is that, if the tenant doesn't want to renew, that would be the only cost for an investor, is to have us put it out in the market and lease it again.
Got it. Yep. So then what you'll see here below is just, estimated closing costs. Those are just the raw closing costs for title, escrow, etc. There's usually some points associated with achieving this loan, and we can always get into the specifics with our preferred lender of how you want to structure this opportunity and what those points may look like. But what we have here is the gross rents. As we mentioned, it's rented, so this is the actual rents, not projected rents. You have that rate, of course, principal and interest for 5.25. We factored in our taxes. We factored in our insurance. We have our being that it is occupied. Then we also have we don't have an HOA. We don't have any utilities, and landscaping is 80. It looks like here that we don't have a management fee, so I'm assuming then what we're having is at least for 12 months or so. There's probably a fixed period. Do you know what the term is on the management here?
Well, for the first year, we are going to give free management for the first year.
Okay, great. So for 12 months, and then typically what you'll see here, then it would go to 8% on an ongoing basis for management. So that's what it looks like here, year one. So you get all your fixed expenses, you back out your rent, and you have a positive of 230. So 230.67, and then what you'll see below, those are your variable expenses. That's going to be maintenance and vacancy. Now, for anybody that is an investment property owner or just owns real estate, maintenance and vacancy are part of that business. There's no way to tell exactly the amount that one will have in maintenance and vacancy in a year, so we do our best to estimate. We definitely go above and beyond. We're factoring in 8% maintenance and 8% vacancy. Truthfully, on a new construction, we can back that down to 5%, and usually we're going to back down maintenance or vacancy a little bit, but just given for conversation purposes, we can leave this. And then the leasing fee, you typically, our leasing fee is charged to place tenants, and we charge 50% of the first month's rent. Given that we don't have a new renter every year, we just factor in every year and a half that you'll have to pay that fee. So that's how that's factored in. So even what I would consider these aggressive estimates, you are going to have, on paper, when you factor these in, a negative. But moral of the story is, I think a lot of those can be adjusted given, especially the fact that this one is rented. And just, to further forecast that it's new construction, you have warranties that are in place that obviously keep the maintenance way down. Now, what you're going to see here is that the bottom two boxes is 15-year projected profit and 15-year ROI. So basically, it's a little easier to follow in our interactive form on the website. But for our projected profit, we're basically factoring in cash flow, appreciation, principal pay down, and then we're backing out our selling expenses. So assuming a hold for 15 years, this is what the number of profit would look like. Now, keep in mind, one thing our calculator does not do yet is factor in rental increases. So essentially, the way this calculation is derived is assuming that we're losing $539 of cash flow every single month for 15 years straight. So I want everybody to grasp how ultra conservative and of that is. So the bulk of what you're seeing here is the appreciation over 15 years. And when you do that return on investment, that's just under 15%. You'll see 14.76% annual return on investment if you held it for 15 years. What's nice about our website as well is you can adjust that timeline up or down, and of course those returns, those profits, everything will adjust. We have one note below: pricing is subject to change. The interest rates are, of course, always constantly moving. Builders are constantly adjusting their incentives. So, these things can fluctuate. It's not set in stone forever. So something to note when we're exploring these opportunities as well. So yeah, I just wanted to take a little time on that one to go over it. We'll have Ku talk about the next property a little bit, and we'll go through those numbers a little bit quicker on the next one.
So our next one is in Cape Coral.
Sorry, I skipped one.
Oh, you just skipped one? Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so we're gonna go Lehigh Acre, which we have a lot of investors that currently owns property out in Lehigh Acre. But this one here is very well built. It's very spacious. It's in the landscaping. They're starting to do better landscaping on the duplexes here out in Lehigh Acre, and this is one of the builders that take a lot of pride in hyping up the curb appeal. And the inside is actually very beautiful. The rooms are a little bit smaller than the one in Punta Gorda, but it's still very high quality constructed. And it's also in a nice, safe neighborhood as well. And it's convenient to, all the big grocery stores, medical facilities. It's about probably 20 minutes drive to Fort Myers. So it's also very centrally located within Lehigh Acre, making it, easy transportation here to Fort Myers.
Nice. And then just again, from the top, list price $549. We have the 30% down. You have the investment capital needed. And then these are the gross rents. I don't believe this one is leased to my knowledge, but
no.
we would, okay. And that's typical, right? So the previous property, it's pretty unique to have tenants in place already, and we're actually, managing that. So that's something that's really nice. Whereas this property, we'll be able to provide comps to show you that this rent is accurate, but nonetheless, this is what's projected. This is, you have the 5.25% rate here as well. Taxes, insurance. We have our management fee in this one. And HOA, utilities, and landscaping, so you don't have any HOA or utilities, with that fixed monthly expense of $3,055. And when you net out you can take your rent minus your expenses, and you'll have a positive cash flow of $734. And that's prior to any maintenance or vacancy. Of course, we left that 8% for both maintenance and vacancy, and that 50% leasing fee. This goes, kind of the common theme. I think that's over, especially on the maintenance, but if you factor all those in, you'll still have a positive cash flow just over $22. So in that scenario, you're going to be pretty safe from any kind of potential expenses or having to provide capital to this investment. I think the moral of the story, especially those that have held property for a while, is realizing that typically the numbers at the start of an acquisition are in I would say the toughest shape, right? So the rents are typically the lowest. The interest rate is usually the highest. You're not usually refinancing into higher rates unless you're pulling cash out. And if you're pulling cash out, you're probably getting another property or doing some kind of improvement. So there's things there. The loan amount's the highest. So usually you're kind of up against the toughest situation. So if you can get the property in a pretty sound location at day one of acquisition, with the values the way they are, over time values go up. Over time rents go up. Over time, interest rates can come down, and therefore all these numbers can improve pretty dramatically. I'll share a really quick story. My first purchase in Texas was a duplex at acquisition. It was breaking even with fixed expenses, meaning way below when I factored in maintenance and vacancy. And the nice thing about multifamily, or should I say like, duplexes and up, is you have a little bit of economies of scale. So if you're raising rent on one unit, let's say $50 or $100, you time, $50 or $100 doesn't, it doesn't allow you to all of a sudden retire. But when you multiply that by multiple doors, right, and it becomes, either 100 or 200, or if you get more doors, 3, 4, 5, right, that number can expand pretty quickly. And if you do that in any kind of reasonable cadence, you'll notice that over time these numbers are changing to your benefit pretty quickly. So again, down below, assuming a 15-year hold, you have that profit of just under 473, and that annual return on investment of 17.79. So pretty spectacular, pretty good numbers there that I think are worth taking a look at. And that's something that is pretty unique about Florida, is being able to get some of those cash flow numbers up pretty high.
Yeah, and we placed the estimate the rental here at $18.95 per side, and that's kind of the going rate here. So and look at the cash flow on monthly there; it's about $700. The thing about Lehigh Acres that you do get a higher cash return, but the resale value is less than Punta Gorda or Cape Coral. So it's just depends on what your real estate goal is. And I also want to mention too, to add to what Vince is saying, on a multi-unit like this, on a duplex, what's great about it is that if one side becomes vacant, you still have the other side, generating income. Whereas, a single family, once the lease is over and they don't choose to renew the lease, then it becomes vacant. So that's why duplex are, sometimes more preferable to investors. Classes because of that reason. And we get to Cape Coral. This actually, and I think it's a little bit over a quarter acre. It's about 0.34 acres. It sits on there. It's in a nice area with a lot of other duplexes there, and it's also very centrally located. You're not too far from Pine Island Road and Santa Barbara there, so easy access to get to anywhere. From here to Fort Myers or downtown Cape Coral is probably about downtown Cape Coral is about 20 minutes, and to Fort Myers probably about 30 minutes. Again, it's constructed with impact windows. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, sliding doors. It has a open patio, so it's just built for this weather, and it's in a great area in Cape Coral.
So Ku, I see here ready to move in with assessments in and paid. So just to go back to that, so that's on now city utilities, and that's already been paid, so that's just factored into the price.
Yes.
Great.
And the 600 price here is actually it's in line with other properties, other duplexes that are selling right now in the market. But the great thing about this one is the assessments have been paid already, so you're not going to get that tacked onto your tax bill.
Got it. Awesome. So yeah, quickly here, guys, you'll see we have our rent. We have an estimated rate here at 5.75. So that's assuming based on what this builder's incentive looks like. It's a little bit higher, right, than some of the other ones. Like I said, that rate can change depending on their level of incentive. So you have your fixed cash flow after fixed expenses at 453, and then your projected profit of 460, and your annual return on investment of 15.84, assuming a 15-year hold. So that's a little bit more about the properties. And again, we can send you this in more detail and go over this and kind of break down the numbers and talk a little bit more about any of these specific properties if anyone is interested. I like to just share this quick, this page. You'll notice this on all of our property websites. It's just an appreciation trend and kind of shows the way that the market has, basically performed over the years. So we have data all the way from 1999 down to 2023. So you'll see, Florida has been known to have a a little bit more shifts than maybe some other markets, right? So you can see some big upswings and then some, some bigger downswings. And, we've been on quite a run here from Florida, right? From 2010 basically on, it's been pretty incredible. And, one thing Ku mentioned that I thought was important to point out is, the Lehigh property was definitely the highest cash flow. And what she mentioned, though, is the resale value might not move quite as much as like a Cape Coral, right? And that's something to point out when you see this property class, this sliding scale below. So basically, these are our property classes, and this goes back to our Marshall Reddick rating ebook, and I'll show you guys where to find that. But it's a good quick read that kind of explains the concept of what to expect by buying a certain property in a property class. So basically, we take the median home price in a certain area and then determine a property class. So 100% you'll see of that median home price, 420. Anything from 100% of that number to 130 we call A, from 100 to 80 we call B, etc. Right? So how I like to remember this is A-class properties typically warrant more appreciation, and C-class properties typically warrant more cash flow. And usually you get a little bit of both in those B-class properties. It's not to say that you can't find good reasons to buy these, but it's a little bit of a sliding scale. When you want a property that's going to have more room for appreciation, you're going to forfeit cash flow and vice versa. So just trying to set expectations properly for those that are looking for, well, I want a super high cash flowing property and I want it to be in Naples, right? So that those probably don't gel perfectly. So just to kind of set those expectations accordingly.
Correct.
Yeah, so a little bit more about property management. Here's a quick snippet of our fees here, right? So for single family homes, it goes from 9% and then it'll trail down from 2 to 4 to 8, etc. We have basically our leasing fee of 50%. So anytime we need to place new tenants. And then our lease renewal fee is 15%. And what's nice about, some of our current processes is, we have been able to expand the team enough to where we do annual inspections on every property before a lease renewal. That helps us determine if we want to release to this tenant or not, right? So that's really important, especially when you're buying new construction and you have a brand new home and you want to make sure it's in good condition and those tenants are taking care of it. The inspections are pretty critical. So we'll be able to support you anywhere from marketing the property, placing tenants, screening them, any maintenance items they request. Right? We would send someone out, whether we have to go through a warranty company, whether we have to call one of our vendors. We don't profit from any maintenance, meaning we don't tack on to a bill. And like if a plumber goes out to fix the toilet, we don't upcharge that. We send the invoice directly from that plumber to you that you pay for. So and we handle, of course, all of that on your behalf. But some companies do have a profit center in the property, in the maintenance, and we don't. Our goal is to provide a good sound service so that it encourages you to want to buy more property, right? That's the logic here.
And then, the vendors that we use, they're our preferred vendors. So, our investors, you do get better pricing too. And it's
absolutely. That's a good point. Based on the volume of business we do, you're better off using folks that work with us and have a relationship that do good work. So, again, happy to go into any more specifics, send you sample property management agreements, happy to go over, any of the property management questions that one may have. But I, of course, wanted to make everybody aware of our services here and what, general expectations look like of those services from a pricing standpoint. Being that you guys are on a webinar tonight, again, I thank you guys so much. And I know that you are seeking information. You can find more free information in our data packets. This goes over general demographics about the area of Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres. So this is all good information for those of you that are seeking to learn a little bit more. As I mentioned, we have our ebook. This is another free read. It goes over the property classes that I mentioned. You'll notice a property class rating on every one of our websites, or on every one of our properties. So this is a good indication or a good learning tool of how we come to that rating and what to expect from each of those ratings. I'm going to be doing some follow-up calls this week. You can, the call can just be as short as, hey, it was great and I was just checking in, or it could be much longer and have a certain scenario that you want to work through. I'm happy to have as short or long as call as you would like, and just kind of go over the who, what, when, where, and why, answer any questions you have, and just be of service, right? If it's not this year, no problem. If it's in, or if it's right now, if you have a 1031 exchange and you need to find replacement property, we can go to work on that too. So it's really dependent on kind of your needs and what's important to you. This is my contact information for any of you that are want to set up a call or trying to get in touch with me earlier. You can always connect with me. Ku and I will be, like I said, doing some follow-ups over the next few days. You'll get an email from us and you'll get a recording of this presentation. So we're just over a little bit of time here. So any questions that we didn't answer, like I said, we'll go ahead and handle those on the follow-up. But again, I want to thank everybody here tonight for joining us. It's always a pleasure to speak to all of you folks and to have the opportunity to talk to you about what we do and what's going on in Florida. And Ku, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's late over there, so thanks for sticking around and getting this done for us.
Well, yeah, the one thing I want to go away with is that, considering all the development that's happening here in Southwest Florida, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and I haven't even been gone on what's happening in Fort Myers. So if you were to buy, invest in a new construction and sell in 10 years, and in the next 5 to 10 years, all of those development will be completed. It will only add to the value of the property for resale.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Again, well, thanks so much, Ku, and thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, everybody.